because these, you guys have used these a little, right? And these blow, they get tired real fast. And I tried a few of these kind, but I was thinking about getting this style, but really, really good ones. Maybe, because, yeah, 'cause we've got some grant money to buy things with, but it's like, if I was a science teacher, I'd know exactly what I'd buy. You couldn't give me enough money, but as a math teacher, it's different. Okay, so with that problem, you know, the count, you had to subtract and get it. So it says, let G represent a girl being born. Using relative frequency, what is the value of PG? So when we write that, this would be the probability of a girl. So what would be the probability of a girl in terms of its relative frequency? That'd be the 48.8%, or 0.488. Some people, you know, you're going to see later on in math that they use decimal numbers much more than percents. Percents are used for people to read, like when we put stuff in newspapers and such. But mathematicians, when they work with probabilities and frequencies, they just use decimal numbers or fractions. Usually decimal numbers. Okay, so jumping around. So for question 4, it says you pick a number from 1 to 25 randomly out of a hat. And we're saying that they all have an equal probability of being picked, or it's a fair hat, fair numbers. How many outcomes are possible? You have 25 numbers. What do we mean by an outcome? The different things that can happen. So there's 25 outcomes, yeah. What's the probability that you pick the number 17? 1 out of 25, so 1 over 25. So then when they say the probability of an even, what is the probability of an even if you have 25 numbers, numbers 1 through 25? Is it? 12 out of 25, yeah, because there's more odds, aren't there? Yeah. 12 out of 25. Oops, what did I do? Why did I put that in parentheses? Don't know. And you can, you know, you're fine leaving it as 12 out of 25. If you feel like putting it into decimal form, that would be 0.48, or it'd be 48% if you went there. I'm fine either way. Unless we say specifically, what is the percent probability? So, what was the most common blood type? Which one? O positive is the most common blood type. Okay. So I'm just jumping through some of the odds here. So what would be the probability that you were born on a weekday? 5 out of 7. What's the complement to that? 2 out of 7. Complementary events add up to 100%, or 1 whole. So there's a 2/7 chance you were born on a weekend, a 5/7 chance you were born on a weekday. They are complementary because they add up to 7/7. So what's the probability of pulling a club out of a standard deck of cards? 25%, or what fraction? 1/4, because you've got clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades. Same number of each. A club or a heart. That's 50%, because when we say it's or, we can add together our probabilities. What's the probability of getting this one or that one? Well, that becomes one group of possible outcomes. So, a club or a 5, what's that probability? How many cards are in a deck? 52. So, did they say a club or a 5? Okay, so we got 52. So what's the probability of a club? It's 13 out of 52. There's 13 of them. And then how many fives are there? 4, but one of them is a club. So what we would do is we would say 4, but then we would subtract that one overlapping. So now we're down to 16/52. Is that right? 13/26. This doesn't seem right. I can't subtract, I don't know. Can't divide. 8/26. 4/13. There we go. I don't know what I was thinking there. So I gave you number 16, didn't I? So what's the probability that suspect number 3 is a criminal? 20%. Yeah. So the probability of suspect 3, let's just leave it as a fraction in case we need to multiply them. I don't know if we do. Suppose the detectives receive evidence that the criminal is a female. Then what's the chance? 50 because how many females are there? 2, so it's a 1/2 chance. Or are there 3? Oh, sure enough. So there are 3 females, so then it's actually a 1/3 chance, right? Not 1/2, it's a 1/3 chance. Suppose the detectives then receive infinite evidence that the female is between 5'5" and 5'9". Yeah, since one of them is 6 feet tall, then it would only be of those 2. So that'd be a 1/2 chance. The new kindergarten teacher is taller than any of you. Yeah, how tall are you?
Hey, how tall is she?
She's 5'10".
He's 6.
Are you 6 feet?
Yeah,
So am I.
Huh, you don't seem that tall.
I think we're sitting, so I'll go find her if you like.
Yeah, go
Hey,
stand, hey, back to back, how tall are you? Okay, 21, 22. 22, the list price of a car is C. Yeah, this is an important one. That's why I gave it to you. Find the selling price according to the following conditions. If you pay 7% sales tax and then there's no discount, how much is the car going to cost? Yeah, but you can't just say plus 7%. It's got to be 7% of something. Of C. Okay, so it would be like C plus, but we don't write 7% as 7%. How do we have to write it?
7
We don't multiply percents.
make it fraction.
You could do a fraction. 7 over 100 multiplied by C. Or you could say C plus 0.07 C. What's a third way you could write this? Well, you have, it's, the 7% has to be of something. So when we do 7%, it's gotta be multiplied by C. How many C's is written here? There's just 1, so that's like 1 times C. So can you see now what you would do? We can write this without addition. What is 1C plus 0.07C? These are like terms. So you're taking 1C and you're taking 7/100ths of C, so that's 1.07 times C. So in other words, 107% of the cost is what you pay. 100% of the cost and 7% of the cost. Together, that makes 107% of the cost. Boy, what about 20% discount and no sales tax? Then how do we write it? C minus 20 over 100 or 0.2 C. So if this is again 1C, how much is that when you do the subtraction? How much?
0.2.
Well, this would be 1 subtract 0.2. So that would be point. It's subtraction. 1 subtract 0.2. 0.8. C. So the 0.8 is 80%. So if you have a 20% discount, you pay 80% of the cost. That's what that's saying. That's with no tax. Now they say you pay 7% sales tax and get a discount. So then we have to think about this number here, but then we need to have a 7% tax on that cost. So there's going to be, well, there's going to be the cost of the item, which is 80% of the original cost, but then you got to do the tax. What is the percent tax? 7% tax. So then it would be 0.07, but not of the whole cost because you're getting a discount. So it's going to be of this cost right here. So it'd be 0.8. So that's the 80% that you got to pay. That's the tax on that amount. So the point behind that portion of the problem is that when you have a discount, you're paying less tax, because the tax is on the selling price. It shouldn't be on the original price. And you know, you go and buy things like clothing and what have you, and it doesn't make a big difference. When it does make a difference is when you go and buy a boat or you buy a car, something like that, where you're spending tens of thousands of dollars in paying tax. Then when there's a discount, you pay a whole lot less tax. It's like if you buy a $50,000 truck or car and you're paying 7% tax, that's $3,500. It's a lot of tax. And then there are states that every single year that you register your vehicle or run it on the road, you pay a tax based upon how new the vehicle is. Like in Arizona. If I go out and I buy a brand new rig this year, in Arizona, I have to pay more for my vehicle registration than if I took my old truck down there, which was 20 years old. Some of those registrations are a couple $1,000 a year. So having new vehicles is really, really expensive in some of those states. Mississippi works that way. All right. So that's that. So what do we have left? Today is Tuesday?
Yeah.
So Wednesday, today and then tomorrow is review time. And Thursday is your test. On lessons 1 through 6, time will be limited to in class. Friday, you're going to clean out your locker, if we're here. The forecasters are uncertain right now, but the possibility is,
Oh, it's not.
yeah, like a foot and a half or two.
I'm not sure.
That's a possibility, but their confidence, or whatever they call it, there's a name for it. They're not real, their model isn't real sure. It could go north and be rain, it could go south and just be cold and Juneau could get buried. Or it could go right over us and we could have dirty lockers for 2 weeks.
I hope not.
We do
That's,
not. We do not need a snow day this week. Do not, we've had enough, this has been a mess. So, self-test. 1 through 24. Is that right? I'm gonna double check. Skipping numbers 12 and 23. I wanna double check on that. Let me make really sure. I believe 1 through 24, skipping 12 and 23. That seems like more than I want. Maybe not. I did go over this the other night. It's on page 318. Make sure you're on the self-test, not the review. Yeah, I took time to take the problems out of here that I wanted out. So, yeah, page 318, 1 to 24, skip 12 and 23.
skip 12 and 23.
And you can pace yourself some. So I imagine you have other tests that you're getting ready for this week. You will have class work or class time tomorrow to work. And we're here for a little while now. But we definitely want to get through everything before the end of the hour tomorrow, so any of your questions that you might have are answered.